430 jobs in our city, especially in our young people. On Joburg Social Housing Company, Speaker, I will not add much on what has been said. Joshco is not doing well at all. We note with great concern that the inability of Joshco to recover money is owed by its tenants, whilst it has a burden of paying service providers. We see that there's a developed tenant education manual that was approved in June 2021. And a year later, there seems to be no improvement in tenant behavior, especially on payment patterns. For the fourth quarter, out of 21 KPIs, it is no surprise that only 6 are confirmed to have been achieved. There is evidence that the department is also failing to implement the mitigation factors that were approved to stabilize and achieve on the failed KPIs. Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to utter the following. When dealing with human settlement, it is of great significance to understand the environment, economy, society, by exploring the human-land relationship and the evolution of civilization reflected by the settlement environment. Through the characteristics of settlement preferences, the distributions of settlement is actually predicted, and the relationship between the settlement preferences and the evolution of the environment and civilization is verified. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mabaso.
Oh, yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Speaker, and greetings to you and fellow councillors. Speaker, I had prepared a speech to debate today, not to respond. Speaker, before I respond, allow me, Speaker, ukuthi ngifisele isizwe samaZulu ngosuku lesabatha eMoses Mabhide eThekwini umcimbi omuhle wokugcotshwa kwenkosi yesizwe. Speaker, responding direct to the questions or the debate by councillors, I will not respond direct to the questions because one, Councillor Nenemba's analytic is not properly aligned. Because if you look at the report, and if he had an opportunity to study the report, then he was not going to say what he has said. The department has achieved 10 out of 13 KPIs, which translate to 77%. Something that the department was not used to previously. But over and above that, Speaker, the old age homes that he has referred to are not city-owned old age homes, they are privately owned. And I think I had reported that before in the meeting. With Joshco, Speaker, I understand very well that Joshco has faced serious challenges, and most of the challenges emanated during COVID. And it was as a result of the reliefs that we had employed at the time, because we understood that our people could not afford to pay rent and meet their monthly obligations. And the decision which we took at the time with the late Mayor Jeff Makubu was that we need to be considerate of the situation and the circumstances that our resident had faced at the time. So the issues of rent collection, there was also issues of demand for ownership. We took it upon ourselves, we went out and engaged with the tenants, and we presented them the importance of having to meet their monthly obligation because the entity was unable to self-sustain it at the time. But I think Joshko is on the right path. They are improving, and the Q1 report will show those improvements. The board of the entity is capable, and they've been doing wonderful work. The Slovo Park,
Yes, Councillor. Councillor Mabaso, please take a seat.
Speaker, thank you very much. One, Councillor Mabaso is misleading this house. That's an order. Why I'm saying so? If you are not a good listener, I can't assist you, unfortunately. Councillor Mabaso is speaking about 2020, where the city intervened in rentals, where he himself was an MMC.
Councillor,
The problems
if you want to
Joshko,
debate on reports, put yourself on the speakers list.
No. You see, Speaker,
What is the point of order?
there is a trend of speakers of keep on misleading this house through their reports.
Councillor, let's
Yes.
sit down.
So-
It's late in the day.
Yes.
I would like us to finish the quarterlies. Can you
Yes.
kindly take your seat?
So is it correct that is...
Sit down.
Speak.
Councillor Mabasa?
Rule 72, unfortunately, you didn't go to school, so you can't understand that.
Councillor Mabaso?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Let me conclude. Ow, hey! How? I'm talking here. Let me conclude, Speaker, by saying, with the informal settlements upgrade, there is a lot of work that has happened in the informal settlement. The non-achievement of the KPI is as a result of the interdependency to other departments. The planning processes, the installation of services by our sister entities. But the department is doing very well. I mean, the service stands KPI has been there.
30 seconds.
Has been there for quite some time, and for the first time, the department was able to deliver 150 service stands for the first time in the city of Johannesburg, and I think it was, a great progress which was made by the department. Thank you very much.
Chair Polobosho? Councillor, you don't stand up and speak before I recognize you. Please sit down.
You don't want to
Chairperson Polobosho, please proceed. Councillor, can you switch off your mic, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, then I note the concern raised by councillors. And Speaker, behalf of Section 79 Committee, we ask the Council to approve item 14 and 15 and 30. and the recommendation are on page 14.2, 15.4. In closing, Speaker, I'd like to thank the former Chairperson, Councillor Christian. Speaker, then Councillor then hand over the keys for the office. I thought maybe then the mayor of City of Johannesburg, before the storm come, maybe then he will just hand over the key to Councillor Dada Morerwa.
Councillor.
I thank you, Speaker.
Councillor Mpolobosh. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 14.2, 15.4, 30.7, and 30.8. Are the items agreed to? We're going to do the next items, then take a 5-minute break. We will finish the quarterlies and we will decide whether we want to break or not, because dinner is not provided. The council will decide. So let's do the next item, and then we will break for 5 minutes for a body break and come back and decide on the oversight reports.
Councillors, item 16 is a performance assessment report for the Public Safety Department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period April to June 2022, read together with item 31, which is an oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee on the 2021-22 fourth quarterly performance report of the Department of Public Safety for the period April to June 2022.
Chairperson Maila.
Madam Speaker, Your Worship, the Executive Mayor, Councillor Dr. Mpopaladze, the Honorable, the Leader of the Official Opposition, the Honorable, the Chief Whip of Council, Sengwayo, Somahashi, Manzini, Nyamagaishi. The Chair of Chairs, Honorable Members of Council, the people of Johannesburg, greetings and salutations. It is my singular honor and privilege to table the oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee in relation to the Department's fourth quarter performance report for the 2021-2022 financial year, which in essence speaks to the progress made by the Department against the Service Delivery and Budget Implementation Plan for the period between April and June 2022. We remain, Madam Speaker, steadfast in our belief that the first duty and highest obligation of any government is public safety. We are unwavering in our assertion that there can be no development or economic prosperity for the residents of this great city unless there is peace, stability, and public safety for all. That's why the committee will never grow tired of performing our oversight responsibilities over every aspect of the department. We are determined to do this without any fear, favor, or prejudice. Madam Speaker, the committee is pleased that a significant proportion of the department's performance targets were achieved during the quarter under review. That said, however, we do acknowledge that several challenges remain. As I stated previously, the department has had to function without a full-time chief of police for more than 2 years now. Several senior management positions which are funded have remained unfilled. Naturally, This is having an adverse impact on the overall performance of the department. We have since discovered that a worrying number of firearms and rounds of ammunition were lost by the department, which may possibly be used by the criminal underworld to commit all manner of serious and violent crimes across the city. The committee will be laser focused on these matters as we believe a safer Johannesburg is possible. Madam Speaker, I ask of Council to consider the department's reports as tabled. I thank you.
Councillor Zita.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Greetings to EFF Party Leader, Councillor Spetlele Rasurute, EFF Caucus, and fellow councillors. Madam Speaker, the Public Safety Quarter 4 report is nothing but pure lies. The committee itself can affirm, all those beautiful numbers where targets were met are not a reflection of what's happening in the city. It's funny when the committee asks how did they actually come to those beautiful numbers, no one had an answer. But that does not shock me, as everyone is acting in that department. Acting HOD that is being changed every second, the acting chief of police, the list goes on and on. And the simple explanation of all the acting that is happening there is failing to take accountability. Madam Speaker, the only mandate that the department is good at is eviction and demolishing houses at informal settlement. Just after you condemned the demolition that is happening in the municipality, the operation was set again at Ward 44 this past Sunday, where one of our Councillor Natemba, was shot with a rubber bullet in his hand. Going back to the report, with so many informal settlements in the city without electricity, the fire calls response, which is 15 minutes, was not achieved. And all because of shortage of fire engines. Again, it shows that the report is a lie. Region A is using one fire engine. Imagine calling the fire engine at Deep Slot to Ivory, which is the same region. What time will it arrive there? Definitely not within 15 minutes. And we have seen that happening, Speaker. This department initially had 22 KPIs and 2 were withdrawn. That's leaving the department with only 20 KPIs. That again were not met. Am I surprised? No. The very same department still haven't given the committee as to what happened to the firearms that are lost under their watch. With so many killings happening in the city, this department is too relaxed not to act or to at least advise what happened to those firearms. Madam Speaker, the percentage of the allocated department capex target is 95%, and only 23% was achieved, which is not even closer to its target. Speaker, there is a declared war on the killing of our black brothers and sisters at taverns and liquor outlets, and this department only inspected 218 out of 300 targets. That this department actually set their own target and they can't meet it. It's very interesting. So, Speaker, the EFF note the report with the above mentioned concern. Repairing.
Councillor Mwate.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker Madume Hafele. I rise on item 16, performance assessment report for the Public Safety Department for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period April to June 2022. As actioners say, Speaker, we note this report. Thank you.
Councillor Darocha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the department talks about 7 of its priorities. Number 1, a city that gets the basics right. Number 2, a safe and secure city. Number 3, a caring city. Number 4, a business-friendly city, number 5, an inclusive city, number 6, a well-run city, and number 7, a smart city. I will speak on some of them. Let's start with priority number 2, a safe and secure city. On the subject, I would like to focus on the more dangerous cases. We have 28 arrests for possession of illegal firearms and the recovery of 28 firearms, 40 arrests for stolen motor vehicles, and 924 for driving under the influence. This is a high number that does not seem to get smaller in every report. I commend the fact that there were less than 28 illegal, that are less 28 illegal firearms in the streets of Johannesburg. Some of them were possibly in the hands of dangerous criminals. I commend the 40 arrests for stolen motor vehicles and the fact that 175 vehicles were recovered. What alarms me the most is the driving under the influence. Yes, people are getting arrested, but they are still driving a distance under the influence before they get caught. So my point, what is being done to prevent an individual from getting in the car under the influence? What is JMPD doing about complaints from residents of people consuming alcohol on the pavements, on the streets in public, and in illegal parties that are constantly disturbing the peace and making residents' lives a living hell? Part of the safe and secure city is Metro Police taking an initiative and deal with residents that constantly commit the infringement as per above mentioned. Now let's go to priority number 1, a city that gets things done right. JMPD talk about being inundated with incidents of cable theft. So what does JMPD have in place to stop not only cable theft, but theft of all infrastructure? For instance, has JMPD made it a point to search recyclers to see if they are moving stolen city property? For instance, has picked up bins that are being stolen and then used to cart stolen goods? Has JMPD made any arrests in regards to a person being in possession of a picked-up stolen bin? Has JMPD made any attempts to install law and order to the citizens of this city that are constantly spitting in our faces? By law enforcement program, Madam Speaker, I see all the reports and quite frankly, work is being done. However, what's confusing me is exactly where this work is being done. I understand that Johannesburg is a very large city, but service delivery is not being done fairly across the city. Yes, many wards don't have land invasion issues, but many other wards in the city do have problems that don't seem to get resolved. For instance, wards like Ward 61, Ward 64, Ward 66, Ward 67, Ward 118, actually simplifying wards across region F1 and F2. As councillors, we see clear evidence of illegal trading, dumping in every corner. Hell, people from Randburg and Centon are using our wards as dumping grounds. Illegal posters nailed on every tree as we speak, clear and visible illegal trading in every corner. So, as impressive as this report is on the subject, I am saddened that many wards are definitely excluded from this type of service delivery. Let us talk about priority number 7, a smart city. The IIOC, Incidents Detective, crime-related only, 113, amounting to 17%. I remember when we used to detect 500 upwards of incidents. No, don't be happy that we only detected 17%. Be alarmed. Be alarmed because the reason for that drop is simply that from 574 operational cameras, there are only 6 cameras operational. How did we go so backwards? I could easily start by saying that one of the reasons was the fact that the ANC made the previous Public Safety Councillor the director of the IIOC, and he brought this operation center to its knees with neglect and failing to secure proper maintenance of these crucial CCTV cameras. You see, Speaker, the ANC does not care about people getting killed every day on the streets of this once great city. Their aim is to make sure that the unskilled cadres get important jobs. All this at the expense of human lives. Madam Speaker, I take note of the fire at Kwai Mai Mai that took place Wednesday, the 22nd June 2022. And again, I commend disaster management for the sterling job that they do in times of disaster. I truly believe that every official working in this department have lion's hearts. They do achieve the impossible with nothing. These teams are under-resourced with very little to go with, and yet they are on the ground dealing with people that lose everything, day in, day out, dealing with misery, and they march on to the next disaster. We must take cognizance of this fact and do more to empower disaster management with more and better resources. Madam Speaker, in a sadder note, I would have not represented the community of Johannesburg fairly if I did not mention the unfortunate disaster that cost the life of a 6-year-old child, Kayalethu Magadla, that sadly fell into a manhole. You see, Madam Speaker, here we go into the stolen infrastructure across the city, infrastructure that costs lives when it's stolen. We as a city should declare the theft of city infrastructure an act of terrorism, as it brings our city into its knees. We, Madam Speaker, as a city should do more to replace and repair stolen infrastructure. We as councillors across this chamber owe it to our residents to represent them all with courage, honesty and integrity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Nair.
Madam Speaker, Executive Mayor, leader of our caucus and mayor in waiting, and he will be back. Fellow councillors, residents of the city of Johannesburg, I greet you with the universal greeting of peace be upon you. Madam Speaker, I rise to speak on the performance assessment report for the Public Safety Department for 2021-2022 financial year for the period April to June 2022. Madam Speaker, let me, before I get to the issue of safety and security, let me start by acknowledging the birthday of one of the greatest sons of the soil of Africa, Tata Reginald Oliver Tambo. May his soul rest in peace. Let me also remind this council, 51 years to date, and I want to reiterate this, Akeda was murdered at the hands of the security branch of the repressive government of the Nationalist Party. Comrade Ahmed Tamal paid the ultimate price so that we could enjoy the liberties of freedoms and be here today to do what we do, and that is just to attack the ANC all the time. Madam Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to personally thank both you and our mayor of 20 days, but the mayor of the people. The residents, the mothers of El Dorado Park, Westbury and Rivoli were crying out for help, were crying out to the leadership of this council to listen to them. Our children were getting killed and gunned down. Sadly, the mayor and the mayoral committee did not listen to their cries. But within a week, Madam Speaker, yourself and our mayor, Dada Marrero, went out to the people. We listened to the people. We showed compassion. And it was after a long time that I had witnessed this compassion that a leader of this city had shown to the people, the disadvantaged and marginalized people of our city. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, our Mayor, Dada Marrero. Madam Speaker, if we listen to the voices of our residents, if we go out there, we'll all agree as leaders elected by the residents of the city of Joburg, one of the most important concerns of our residents is safety. And sadly, the MMC is not here, but I'm sure our MMC in waiting my comrade who's waiting to come in, he will be back as well. We'll take this better advice. The safety of our residents should be of paramount importance. We only attain peace and contentment is if we feel safe. And the residents of the city of Johannesburg are definitely not feeling safe. Incident, there was 3 people murdered down the road here yesterday at a shop hold up in Wanderer Street. My ward definitely does not get the service that the people deserve when it comes to everything, from bylaws to visible policing. You know, it is nice when you live in nice leafy suburbs and you were born into very advantaged backgrounds that we can howl today. Yes. Okay? Yes. We can howl all we want. We can howl all we want. It's only those who feel it will know it. So those of us who have come from these disadvantaged backgrounds and who have faced the problem of safety and security over years. So we know what our people feel. We know when our children are abused. And sadly, this department has never prioritized the abuse of women and children. It's a pandemic that's across our country. The city of Joburg should be leaders in this. And my appeal to the incoming MNC is let us make a priority in the city that we bring the end to the abuse of our women and children. Madam Speaker, I want to address the issue of the JMPD security guards. Sadly, it's been 10 months. You know, we can keep on playing the blame game. The current mayor and the committee has been 10 months to equip our guards properly. We deploy guards. You were not born, lady. We don't want to debate that. You don't want to debate that. You don't know what we went through to bring this country to wait so you could enjoy the liberties that you enjoy today. And the freedoms and advantages that the system has given you.
Councillor, just one
security guards.
Councillor, just hold on. You've got 5 minutes, 20 seconds. Just hold on. Councillor Ne, Councillor Home. Councillor Homer. Councillors, I'm talking. Councillors, I'm talking. Councillor Home and the councillors that are howling on the other side, I'm asking you for the last time to please respect other speakers. There are councillors that were definitely going to refer to ethics. Councillor Home, Councillor Ne, please proceed.
Madam Speaker, I was addressing the issue of the JMPD security guards that are employed by this department and are deployed to guard our strategic buildings. It's sadly that they are put out there and only given a uniform. These guards do not have any basic protective equipment and defensive equipment. No handcuffs, no batons, no radios, no pepper sprays. But they're expected to guard our properties, guard councillors, and guard the residents of the city of Joburg. It's a sad situation, and I ask myself, is it just because are these guards just black? It's a thought. So my appeal to the department is, and we've discussed this at our committee, that these guards should be properly equipped and properly trained. It is now a year, and the city is still waiting for the delivery of the 20 fire engines. And sadly, we are still waiting, and I believe that most of those fire engines would have went to disadvantaged communities. So I question this response time when we, in this report. You know, I'm a new councillor, and I've seen these reports, and they're such fancy reports. But do they really talk to the lives and make a difference to the lives of people? Not really from what I experience on the ground. Fires in my area have taken response times of over half an hour to 50 minutes. We have a private company, Fire Ops, that responds a lot quicker than the city does. And I can imagine what the residents of Deep Sloot and Orange Farm and Ivory Park, where they got to share one fire engine, or they have fire stations without fire trucks. So what is the use of having a fire station without a fire truck? But it is our people, stats will prove, who are the people that are dying in these fires? It's people, the masses, the poor, the disadvantaged. So when we talk about a caring government, let us look within ourselves before we use these fancy terms. I hope and pray that the MMC and the department will prioritize the disadvantaged areas when these fire engines do arrive. I'd like to question the report on service delivery standards. How are these turnaround times benchmarked? This is not what is happening on the ground. In my ward, for example, bylaw infringements are not attended to within 24 hours as claimed by the department. The response time for fire and rescue calls of 15 minutes is very questionable. As the experience in my ward, 58, most of fires attended are by fire ops, and our emergency services only arrive later. Madam Speaker, I think I want to finish off by saying that, you know, it's been an experience for me to be in this council, and I'll take this opportunity. But I question our commitment as councillors to the people of Johannesburg. Because I truly believe, in being an activist my whole life, is that it is about making a difference in people's lives. And the best of mankind is those who benefit mankind. I thank you.
Councillor Tembe. Councillor Ne, please switch off your mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm not Councillor David Tembe, as you can see, but I will stand in for him. And firstly, greetings to all the councillors. Speaker, I think I've noted all the inputs from all the councillors in this committee. I think it's understandable why all of them are so passionate about the issues that they've raised, from Councillor Zita and Councillor Darocha and Councillor Ne. I think the issues that they are raising are valid in the main, and of course they need to be dealt with by the department. I will definitely be passing this message to Councillor Tembe, but he has also asked me to remind councillors that with all the doom and gloom that they have indicated and pointed out, there are some positives in the department, and those positives, I think some of the councillors have acknowledged, which is something that we appreciate. For example, there are key strategic objectives that the department is working on, including the issue of improving the safety of citizens in the city. If you look at the number of roadblocks that the department have undertaken, they have set themselves some targets of a 3%, and they've managed to achieve 7% in terms of that. And if you look at the deployment of officers per ward, the baseline for that was 80%, and they've managed to achieve 100% on that. Councillor Tembe has asked me, Speaker, to remind councillors that the number of traffic enforcement operations in the city, that benchmark or the baseline of 5,400 has also been exceeded. It's 8,984 that was achieved there. In terms of the bylaw enforcement joint operations that the department normally does, there's a baseline that comes from 2019-2020, which was 353, but they've achieved, in actual fact, 1,777 in this quarter. So he has asked me to remind councillors that, yes, indeed, there are challenges. He was working on dealing with issues of the security guards, Councillor Ne. And I truly appreciate the comment that Councillor Ne has made in terms of our commitment as councillors in this chamber. It's something that we must reflect on. He has raised this even with me in the corridors to say, you know, Councillor Ngobeni, as an activist, spending my whole life as an activist, I'm quite disappointed as to what I find in this chamber since I arrived here. I wish that can improve, and that's my wish as well. I will advise Councillor Nair that, he must not take things very personal in that, he must address you and ignore the noise around him, because that can actually be disruptive if you are not careful. But there is also issue of informal trading in the inner city. Speaker, that Councillor Tembe has asked me to remind councillors that when we left being removed by the motion of no confidence here, which we don't want to remind the Speaker how it happened, but 250 JMPD officials were being deployed in the inner city to deal with the challenge of informal trading there. It's not really to fight foreigners, Councillor Rapadu, is to deal with the illegality and to enforce our bylaws. And I'm sure when you're in government, you will realize that it's very important that we must keep the city's bylaws implemented at all times. So we note all the inputs and we ask the Council to note the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ngobeni. Chair Maila.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Please permit me to express my thanks to the senior management team of the department for their unflinching support of the oversight work of the committee. I'm also immensely appreciative of the important work done by the men and women in the department. These sons and daughters of the people of South Africa risk their lives each day swimming in raw sewage to find missing persons, walking through raging fires to rescue the entrapped, and even die in the line of duty in service of the residents of our beautiful city. Lastly, though by no means least, I applaud all members of the Public Safety Committee for their unequaled and non-partisan commitment to the cause. Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends that Council approve the Public Safety Department's performance report as well as the committee's oversight report on the department for the fourth quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year, covering the period April to June 2022, of course taking into account all of the observations and comments made thereon. I thank you.
Councillors, the recommendations on pages 16.9 and 31.4 are the items agreed to. Thank you. We will now take a 10-minute break and come back at 10 past 8. 10 past 8, we come back to the House and finish the quarterlies, then decide what to do with the oversights. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. We need to proceed with the quarterlies.
We are now on item 17, which is a performance assessment report for the Transport Department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period April to June 2022, read together with item 18, which is a performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Roads Agency Limited for the 2021-22 financial year for the period April to June 2022, read together also with item 19, which is a performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Metropolitan Bus Services for the 2021-22 financial year for the period April to June. And the above items read together with item 32, which is an oversight report on the Transport Section 79 Committee on the fourth quarterly performance assessment report of the Transport Department, Metro Bus and Johannesburg Road Agency for the period April to June 2022.
Chairperson Makosazana. Councillors, can you ask all the councillors to come in? We also need to check if we're still correct, because it looks like many councillors have left. Councillors, please settle down. Legal is just quickly checking quorum. Then we can proceed. Councillor Mklari, you'll be representing Councillor Makosazana. Just give it 5 minutes. Thank you, councillors. We have 192 councillors present, so the meeting corrects. We will continue. Councillor Mhlari. Can you try the one? Yeah, there you go.
Reperile Speaker Colin Makubele Mukwena. Nishawatati Councillor Inkwato. I, Councillor Tebogo Mashamshari, rise to table the Transport Section 79 Committee reports, item 17, Performance Assessment Report for the Transport Department for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period April to June 2022. Item 18, Performance Assessment Report for the Johannesburg Roads Agency for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period April to June 2022. Item 19, Performance Assessment Report for the Johannesburg Metropolitan Bus Services for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period April to June 2022. Item 32, Oversight Report of the Transport Section 79 Committee on the fourth quarter performance assessment reports of the Transport Department, Metro Bus and Johannesburg Road Agency for the period April to June 2022. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, sir. Councillor Kanyile.
Speaker, Councillor Kanyile has left as per the apology that he put in the morning, so can move to the next speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Makuba. Councillor Atterbury.
Honourable Madam Speaker, Madam Mayor, Action SA's Fabulous 44, fellow councillors, I rise on item 18. There are a few things that most of us in these chambers have in common. We all eat, we all love holidays, we all work for the beautiful city of Johannesburg, and we all used a road to get to the Metro Centre this morning. One can almost say that was it not for the Johannesburg Road Agency, this particular meeting, in this particular manner, would not have been possible. Talking about the JRA, looking at the report for the fourth quarter, it's worth mentioning the enormous amount of successes it had under the leadership of the current and real MMC of Transport, Councillor Funzi Ngubeni, and the multi-party coalition. Madam Speaker, please allow me to run you through a few of its accomplishments. 41.34 lane kilometers of roads were resurfaced. 7,984 potholes were repaired. The JRA revised and designed new traffic signal timings at 70 intersections against a target of 40. This brings a huge improvement to the mobility and the reduction of congestion on the roads in our city. During the fourth quarter, the JRA received and completed 20 petitions. In fact, 100% of petitions for the year to date of this report were completed. The hugely successful Aret Sebet Singh project, initiated by the multi-party coalition and the current and real MMC for Transport, Councillor Funzi Nkubeni, brought a great reduction in the backlog of road maintenance left by the previous administration. Of the 68 bridges needing urgent rehabilitation, 14 have been shortlisted, including, I'm happy to report, the Kilburn Bridge and Discovery. The replacement and rehabilitation of 6 bridges have been finalized, while 6 more are underway. 292.8 meters of guardrails were replaced, and 453 curb inlets were unblocked and cleared. Looking at governance and internal processes during the fourth quarter, 303 EPWP jobs were created against a target of 250, and a total of 106 emerging contractors were engaged against a target of 70. The JRA promoted health and physical well-being through 2 successful blood drives and publicized and encouraging the COJ workplace health screening and flu and COVID-19 vaccination event. And in addition to all of this, counseling services are being provided to the staff who may need it. But perhaps most importantly, the JRA is one of the few entities whose financial position is sound and solvent. All of these successes came despite having had to work with the inherited flawed budget from the previous administration, a lack of capable resources, and a far lacking fleet. Action SA positively notes this report and the accomplishments of the JRA under the leadership of the current and real MMC of Transport, Councillor Funzi Ngubeni, who understands that a reflector vest is a trade tool and not a fashion accessory to wear to council.
Councillor Alexander. Councillor Alexander.
Good evening, everybody. I often question the effectiveness and efficiencies of quarterly reports. By achieving the JRA's quarterly reports should reflect the department's successes, and I emphasize should. It is our duty as the legislature to ensure that our residents receive the services from these departments. And this week, we all received the notice from the finance department saying, you can't have services without payment. I sincerely hope that all our residents are paying their bills on time, but the city should be reminded that there's a flip side to that statement. The paying customers of Ria Vaya are not receiving the services they pay for during peak hour traffic, and they are receiving a far from dignified service, to mention just one. The buses are notoriously overloaded during peak time. Firstly, this is unsafe for all our passengers. And secondly, I question whether this entity has their finger on the pulse when it comes to understanding public transport in the city. Recently, 2 blind passengers were squeezed into a corner in the Ria Vaya bus. One passenger makes use of a white cane, and this cane was kicked out of her hand. The other passenger makes use of a guide dog as a mobility aid. The guide dog was repeatedly stepped on throughout this journey. In order to get off the bus, the blind man had to carry his seeing eye dog off the bus. During peak hour transport, Ria Vaya basically has a chronic overloading problem, which has resulted in this horrific incident. I'd like to focus on just 2 KPIs to make my point. Firstly, safety of commuters, according to the report. 100% compliance of safety and security of commuters, target met. Secondly, enforcing that the bus seating standing in line with the applicable legislation, target met. How can Ria Vaya report 100% safety compliance when I've just shared this story? As a city, we should continuously strive to improve inclusiveness and equality, which includes setting KPIs that are actually there to serve the people of Johannesburg. The city has a long way to go to achieve this, but also to achieve understanding. When the passengers reached out to Ria Vaya about the incident around the guide dog, the official reminded them that people with disabilities can travel for free during off-peak. One of the major issues with this is that these individuals are gainfully employed and are expected to report to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. A caring government should focus on protecting and supporting people so that they stay employed in this current failing economy. Both Ria Vaya and Metrobus are quick to tell us that their buses cater for disability. But I'd like to remind both of these bus companies that disability is more than merely a wheelchair lift. It is disappointing that Rea Vaya still does not have a strategy to address overloading during peak times and to ensure the safety of all passengers that make use of our public transport. I ask for the equality, I ask the entity to rethink their business plans and their KPIs so that they reflect the true achievements of public transport. More than one councillor today has mentioned the tragic quality of quarterly reports. I think we can all agree that the city does need a golden repair, and in order to get back on track, we need to consider how we report quarterly. Thank you.
Councillor Mohapi.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to AFF caucus and the fellow councillors. Speaker, this is one of those reports which exposes the fact that the so-called Golden Start is nothing but a facade and publicity stunt by this minority government. A government which is serious about service delivery wouldn't go around proclaiming that they are the best in service delivery and have the interest of Johannesburg at heart when they only achieve 62.5% of the transport targets. Under the leadership Mayor Palazzi and Councillor Ngobeni, Transport Department failed to meet its target on Rea Vaya Phase 1CA operationalization, bus procurement, AFC procurement, complete streets, small commute, public transport facility, and inner city rank development. These KPIs are the lifeblood of the Transport Department, and such dismal failure exposes the fact that the multi-party minority government does not have any interest in service delivery in our people. JRA in particular, it is not fixing potholes in Johannesburg. It is not replacing missing manhole cover, which results in the death of our children. It is not sorting out open drains, yet reports hundreds of millions in UIFW. Speaker, the EFF notes the 4th performance assessment reports for the Transport Department and its entities. We, however, recommend that recommendation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 from the oversight report be implemented before this council approves the reports. Thank you, Speaker.
Councillor Make.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleen Makubela, Executive Mayor, Silo Dadamrero. Allow me to confirm to you that the residents of Johannesburg are highly excited for having you as their Executive Mayor. They have highlighted to us that they are more than happy to be led by a progressive leader like you, Dadamrero. Leader who's representing the oldest liberation movement in Africa. Leader who's representing organizations that have interest of Joburg citizens at heart. Community of Joburg have confirmed to have seen changes since you become a mayor, Dadamrero. Madam Speaker, allow me also to greet the progressive Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, progressive Chair of Chairs, Councillor Phillips, progressive chairpersons of Section 79 committees, fellow councillors and residents of Johannesburg.
I'm rising on item 18, performance assessment report for JRA 2021-2022 financial year for the period of April to June 2022. African National Congress is noting the report with consensus. Madam Speaker, the so-called Golden Democratic Alliance report highlighting that gravel roads upgraded to surface roads but go to Orange Farm, Deep Slot, Ivory Park, etc., then you will realize that this so-called Golden Report is not talking to township communities. DA government is claiming to be committed to provide quality roads that are accessible, safe, livable for communities. Go to Deep Slot, where there are no accessible roads. Police are unable to police Deep Slot Extension 1 because of poor road infrastructure. DA is not taking people of Jozi serious. Stormwater upgrades and maintenance. Madam Speaker, communities kept on asking why Democratic Alliance report is claiming to have upgraded and maintaining stormwater pipes. But during rainy days, why is that? DA. Madam Speaker, allow me to quote Mahamake. Yeah, 1509. This name has appeared in many history books. The family was known for their loyalty and bravery. When times were darkest, this family would rise and fight for good, close quote. In simple, Madam Speaker, I'm saying Democratic Alliance does not have interest of community of Joburg at heart, particularly black communities. DA must learn from Marquez family. We therefore, Madam Speaker, make Joburg communities aware that service delivery only rendered in white suburban areas. But, Madam Speaker, from next week, African National Congress, under the leadership of one of the best leaders, Tata Morero, will make sure that service delivery will be priority to Johannesburg as a whole, including township that are being marginalized by the Democratic Alliance. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Christian. Councillor Christian is on the floor. Councillor Christian. Please switch off your mic. Whoever has a mic on, please switch off your mic. Councillor Christian, proceed.
Good evening, Madam Speaker. Just to correct you, it's Councillor Crichton. Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Speaker, Madam Executive Mayor, all protocol observed. I hereby rise to speak on item 18 and 19, which pertains to the performance of the Johannesburg Roads Agency and Metro Bus in the fourth quarter. I will first speak to item 18. Sadly, Johannesburg, which is often referred to as the City of Gold, has lost its shine and become synonymous with the word shedding. I say this not only because our residents have had to endure load shedding for the past 15 years, and in recent times have been subjected to water shedding. But what is not often spoken enough of is that our residents are also subjected to road shedding. Many of you would not be familiar with this term, but over the years, our infrastructure has aged, with the majority of our roads going from a poor to a very poor state. There isn't a region in Johannesburg where one won't find a pothole-filled road. Sadly, this is mainly due to 23 years of successive, uncaring ANC-led governments. However, not all hope is lost. This past quarter saw the multi-party government providing our residents with a ray of hope, with some of the backlog in our road infrastructure being addressed. One of the early initiatives was to introduce the RS Abet Singh initiative, where each region was given an opportunity to receive 90% of the JRA's resources to take the backlog that each region has, to tackle the backlog that each region has. While it is true that the city still has a lot of outstanding road infrastructure issues, this initiative went some way to assist our communities to a degree. Some of the successes in this past quarter includes 41.34 kilometers of road being resurfaced, 20.86 kilometers of gravel roads that were converted to surface roads for the year so far. Some previously open stormwater drains were converted to underground stormwater channels. 52 EPWP work opportunities were created. A total of 7,985 potholes were repaired. 453 curb inlets were unblocked and cleared, and 292.8 meters of guardrails were replaced. While having highlighted some of these successes, we do acknowledge that the JRA is still far from perfect and there's some way to go to addressing our city's road infrastructure backlog. The Transport Section 79 Committee, previously under the competent leadership of former Chairperson Councillor Wendy Alexander, got the JRA to promise to provide quarterly performance reports of the asphalt plant. As a Democratic Alliance, we will be keeping a sharp eye on these reports. I will now speak on item 19. Over the years, Metro buses faced challenges with their bus fleet aging, which has resulted in them being heavy on fuel, and with the ever-rising costs of petrol and diesel eating into their profits. The fact that they are still utilizing a largely cash-based ticketing system, 30 seconds. Cash-based system means and there are only limited facilities where one can get bus tickets, opens up Metro Bus to theft with regards to their fare collection, and the commuters then run the risk of having to carry cash on them when they are going to the bus stops. Metro Bus also needs to act with haste to ensure that the eye of the bus monitoring system gets implemented.
Thank you, Councillor. Your time is up.
The DA notes the reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ngobeni.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think, Speaker, firstly, there's been a lot of speeches made today from both sides. But I want to acknowledge the two councillors who were making their maiden speech today, Councillor Khomotso Mashala and Councillor Elmarie Atterbury. I think all of us are proud of them. Speaker, I thought maybe I should use this opportunity, because when we left office, I did indicate, and all of us indicated from my party, that we've got a handover report that we wanted to share with the executive that was coming into power at that time. I just want to quickly see if I can be able to assist by providing some of these items here, because they talk exactly to what councillors are referring to, issues that they have raised, and these are matters that, in the event that we don't come back, Councillor Ashley Sauls, I think you will have to look at implementing these issues going further. The operationalization of Phase 1A, Councillor, we have made a lot of progress there, the leasing of buses and outright purchasing of some buses, negotiating with operators. Most of the work is done. You just need to come in and implement and complete the work. The new AFC system that is going to resolve a lot of our problems with regards to Metrobus, losing a lot of cash. That system, the bid evaluation for the procurement, please don't block procurement, Council. Allow procurement to continue so that we can be able to get this system to be implemented as quickly as possible. The operationalization of GT, the Johannesburg interchange, Councillor Nguse knows very well, it's in his ward. We are progressing very well in terms of ensuring that we operationalize it. JPC was a bit slow, but we managed to get them on board. Engagement with stakeholders, public participation process was already underway. So we want to make sure that that is completed. Whoever that is in government, this is for the benefit of our people. Let's make sure that we implement it. I spent some time in Orlando East. One of the councillors from the ANC invited me at Chris Hani Road. There's a project there that was halted. We need to finalize it. It was at 92% completion, and I think we need to make sure that we finalize it. We lost a lot of money because of vandalism in that project. As you know, it was mostly non-motorized transport, and our residents were taking away those bricks and protesting with them. So we need to make sure that we finalize it. In Stradom Park, there in Randburg, the community there raised issues with a public taxi rank, illegal one. So we were in the process of resolving that issue. The councillor of the DA will remember this matter. We need to make sure that we finalize it with the community, that the business community is waiting for us to come back and finalize it. We were in discussion with PRASA as well, with this issue of the railway, including even cleaning the area around the railway. As you know that our trains are not moving. We need to finalize and continue engagement with them. A number of stations here in the city of Johannesburg, PRASA has indicated that they are about to come and refurbish them and get them to work again. We are working in the High Court precinct. We are working as well in the Desmond Tutu precinct. Transport department was involved there. We did impact assessment studies. We need to make sure that those precincts are being taken care of, that we are able to rejuvenate them so that we can be able to get our people to move easily there. We've got a regional CAPEX allocation. All the regions have been allocated CAPEX by JRA, from Region A to Region G. We're going to publicize those CAPEX allocations so that we can be able to follow up and check exactly what is happening there, and we don't lose that amount of money. Very important, Speaker, we are commercializing the Ashford plant. It's there, it's the property of the city, very strategic. We need to make a lot of revenue out of it. What is important is just to make sure that all the processes are done. We did a feasibility study on it. I know it was currently on the BCS stage. We need to make sure that it's finalized. Please don't block it, Leader.
15 seconds.
We need to make sure as well, colleagues, that we implement the shift policy. It's not right that JRA can only work during the day. We need them to work at night as well, So it's very important that we must engage labor, find a way of making sure that we agree with them so that we can implement it. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Mhlari.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to all councillors for their input. As we celebrate President Oliver Tambo's birthday, we should improve the lives of our people in his honor. It's true, Councillor Ngobeni, amibuyi mashaka mina nabona na mashaka ngwena yabalungu bamoshanska bus. We humbly request Council to note the report with all inputs from councillors and recommendations as per agenda. Thank you.
Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 17.2, 18.12, 19.7, 32.13, 32.14. Are the items agreed to? Thank you. Next item.
We are now on item 22, which is a performance assessment report for the City of Johannesburg Legislature Department for the 2020-21 financial year, third quarter for the...
Councillor Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, before we move on to the next item, I'd just like to rise in terms of Rule 127.1. Speaker, you ruled earlier on. May I continue?
Christians, I gave you a time. Please proceed.
Okay. In terms of Rule 127.1, earlier on it was debated, but you gave no way forward on it. Rule 127.1 clearly states that quarterly oversight reports within 30 days after referral by the programming committee. The oversight report that we've just skipped, which is item 33, has been withdrawn, but items 20 and 21 have not been withdrawn. Can you please advise if we will be debating that, or is the executive going to table it, to allow for the debate on it? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Christians. That has already been withdrawn. Can we proceed with the next item?
Item 22, it's a performance assessment report for the City of Johannesburg Legislature Department for the 2020-21 financial year, third quarter for the period April to June 2022, read together with item 23, which is a performance assessment report for the Office of the Ombudsman for the 2020-21 financial year for the period April to June 2022. Also item 34, which is an oversight report of the OCOL on the 2021-22 fourth quarter budget and performance assessment report of the Legislature of the City of Johannesburg for the period April to June 2022, and items read together then with item 35, which is an oversight report of the OCOL on the 2021-22 fourth quarter budget and performance assessment report of the Legislature of the City of Johannesburg and Office of the Ombudsman for the period of April to June 2022.
Thank you, Chair Rafferty.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hereby rise to table the reports for the OCO committee on the Legislature and the Ombudsman respectively. I must just add that we have seen a vast improvement in terms of the reporting, of both the Legislature as well as the Ombudsman's office. Let me just highlight in terms of the key issues that was highlighted by the committee in terms of councillor safety, which is still a major concern. If you read through the report, it indicates how many councillors staan cement vas massacred. So in terms of the protocol around councillor safety and the people assigned to assist councillors when in danger, that is something that really needs to be looked at. The state of councillors' offices, the ward council in Ward 6 is still without an office, and there was promises made that that office will be refurbished, and basically residents are now struggling because the councillor needs to work from his car. In terms of the Metro Center, the repairs is taking very, very long. So if you, it's just a pity that, not actually a pity, it's just maybe a good sign that we haven't had any fatalities in terms of the black plastics that's all over, and also the dust. And if you look at, if you in certain areas in the building. For instance, at the second floor, you have to walk distances in terms of getting to the restrooms. So these things we just want the department to look at. In terms of council arrears, there has been improvement in terms of this. However, the call is still for all councillors to ensure that your accounts are up to date. Because it can't be, and I've said this previously, it can't be that we are telling residents that they must pay their accounts, but yet we as councillors are in arrears. So, but thank you to those that have made the arrangements and continued paying. Yeah, let me pause there.
Thank you, Councillor Baloyi.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm rising on those three, 22, 23, and 35. I've got a serious concern on certain points. Some of them have been tabled already by the last speaker. I'm just going to touch on some of those ones that are not touched and add more on the other one. In one point that I've found to be so strange is the issue of, by the end of the fourth quarter, 23 million was spent on repairs, maintenance of ward councillors' offices, staff offices at Metro building, chamber. I found it so strange to say by the fourth quarter, an amount of 23 million was spent. To me, it's not visible. I'll tell you why. Since we arrived here, we had always have the problem of sound system here. So where was that money spent? You go around in the building, offices of staff, ceiling are falling. Where did you spend the 23 million? Water. Problem of water is continuous. At some stage, they smell so bad because there's no water. Yet, there's a claim that 23 million has been spent. So, we'll be very glad as EFF to find out where did exactly that money goes to. If you can be able to point fingers to others, remember the one is pointing back to you. So you are no better. The other one is for the councillor. Protection. I'm not sure that we are waiting for one to fall. It's so that we can sit and have strategic planning. Or maybe it's lack of education. You don't know how it's done. Come to EFF, we'll teach you on how it's done. Thank you.
Councillor Zwane. Councillor Zwane.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to our caucus leader, Ubabfunzi Ngobeni, in his absentia. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Action essay note note the legislature has not met their KPI targets for the year. We note the improvement from the third quarter to the fourth quarter on the KPIs. We also note that the legislature has only achieved 15 out of 21 KPIs, which translates to 76. Action SA notes the improvement on conducted oversight visit from 0 to 27 from the previous quarter. We also note the achievement that the department has achieved in terms of conducting ward committee elections in May. The report says a total of 79 objections were received and attended to within 7 days of receipt on paper, but yet we do have outstanding disputes in other areas that are not attended to. But you also note that there's other areas of concern in terms of OHASA. Our buildings are not complying. Maintenance in our toilets is not happening. If you go now, every now and then you'll see that there's a lot of things that are not in line. The smell, meaning the extractors are not working. Catering as well, we actually overspending in terms of catering. We catering for 600 people, and if you look at that, only 270 are councillors. I think there is room for improvement there. We need to reduce spending there. We also, if you look at flowers that you are buying, the fresh flowers, we need to reduce that as well. It's extra spending. That money should be spent on something else. We note a lot of challenges. We are aware that councillors are not protected. Specifically, the councillors that are in the areas where, like in Soweto, Orange Farm, there is no proper plan on how to protect councillors. That's why it's easy, we lose councillors easily, because there is no proper plan from the department to ensure that our councillors are safe. So I hope going forward, the department is going to come up with plans on how to protect us as councillors. Even our buildings, all our buildings that we are supposed to sit in, they are not safe. So we note the report, we note these reports, and we definitely hope that the department is going to improve. We are also aware in terms of item 23 that there are certain MOUs that were done, and we hope that going forward, more MOUs are going to be done, specifically with Rainwater, also with ESCOM on item 23, so that the ombudsman can be able to work easily. We also welcome the issue of the bylaw that is being reviewed by the ombudsman. We note these reports, and thank you.
Councillor Christians.
Good evening. Thank you, Speaker. Good evening to the Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Dr. Mpho Palazzi, the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, Councillor Tyrell Myers, the Deputy Leader, Councillor Mungani Nkomo, our Chairperson, GJ Niemand. Speaker, I am speaking to item 22 today. And it's with a very sad heart that I have to speak to it, because the office of the Speaker, the Chief Whip, and the Chair of Chairs has always been one that has been the bastions of good governance. But then when they fail to report properly to Council, and we have to be here today to accept an incomplete report, it is definitely a sad day for democracy. So in item 22, there's a report there from the Office of the Chair of Chairs that speaks to events of the 20th April, 14th May, and 14th of June. If you read the report, you know which page it's on. And in the annexure of the finances, and it says annexure of detailed finances, there is no finances for these dates. So how do we have events in the city with very nice lunches, decor on the table, speakers, sound systems, but no money was spent? Yet the report is here today for us to accept. So I find it very, very disappointing that in item 34, and while the chairperson said there's a vast improvement in the reports, how can there be a vast improvement in the report when item 34 of the committee says there's no issues with the report of the Chair of Chairs? Miskien is die voorsitter van die komitee wat byse nie, byse nou. Miskien is hy die bangbroek van die voorsittende beampte. Is nie iemand wat hy wil byse vir. So maybe it's because the Twitter mayor and the Twitter MECs have got a stronger hold on him and democracy is forgotten. So Speaker, and unfortunately, Chair of Chairs, you're not going to have the answers because you are Johnny-come-lately in that position. And there's nothing in the report that's going to give you the ammunition to reply to me. So I respectfully ask, Voorsitter van die komitee, please withdraw this report because it's incomplete. And we cannot be disrespected as councillors with an incomplete report. So just on a lighter note, if we can't do the numbers, if anybody can tell me what is the difference between the Twitter mayor and Liz Truss, you'll get yourself a chocolate. It's 19 days. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Chair of Chairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to welcome the input that was made by the councillors that put their names on the list to speak, particularly that of Councillor Baloy, Councillor Zwane, and also the input that was made by the chairperson of OCOL. Madam Speaker, I must agree, I am not in a position to respond now to Councillor Alex Christians, but I just need to send a clear message that I am not going to be undermined by Councillor Alex Christians, who thinks he knows it all. You know, there's a saying in Afrikaans, Madam Speaker, hoe geleerder, hoe verkeerder. Some people just think they are too smart for their own good. So let them be wise in their own eyes. For the sake of progress, Madam Speaker, there were some important concerns that were raised by the members and councillors as well. And I would just like to give them the assurance that it is noted and we will look into it. On that note, Madam Speaker, I ask that Council note this report on behalf of the chairperson of OCOL, just like I stated earlier, on behalf, when I withdrew, of the chairperson of development planning. Thank you, Madam.
Baya, thank you, Chair of Chairs. Chairperson Rafferty.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me just start by telling my two MMCs, enjoy the leave this week. Next week, we're back to work. Now, having said that, Councillor Christians, That's why you lost Ward 58. That attitude.
Councillors,
Noting the observations and input made, I hereby ask that this report be noted. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Councillors, we are proceeding to the recommendations. The recommendations are on pages 22.7 and 34.11. And I'm also going to include the recommendations on pages 23.4 and 35.7. Are the items agreed to? Thank you very much. Let's move to the next item. Can we move to the next item? I'm not taking hands now.
Councillors, we're on item 24, which is a performance assessment report on the oversight activities of the Petitions Standing Committee for the period April to June 2022.
Councillor Mabuke. Councillor Mabuke, you can table the report. Councillor Myers, I'll take your hand. I'm not taking that other hand. Councillor Myers, proceed. You can keep quiet. I didn't ask you. Councillor Myers, you are on the floor. Councillor Myers, those are your councillors howling, so you can either talk or sit. Councillor Myers, please proceed.
Thank you. Speaker, before you move on, we wanted you to register our dissent as the dear on that report, please.
Thank you. Councillor Mabuke, can we proceed?
Madam Speaker, ndi madekwana. Madam Speaker, the judge finga yechi. The Ulmeri Semranga Pando African National Congress in Johannesburg region, Councillor Dadamrero, the Ulmeri Sechime Bichandu Hei Yapano, Councillor Zungu, the Ulmeri Semranga Pando Varanga Pando Committee Zote Zafano Duniei.
Councillor Mabuke, Nukomberan Zure Fasi, there's a hand. Councillor Barimini, Councillor Home.
Thank you very much, Speaker. We were actually very proud of how you're conducting this meeting up until now. At this side of the, on this side of the House, we did.
You don't have for speeches now. If you want to speak, register on the speakers list. Please sit down. Councillor Mabuke, proceed. Councillor Mabuke, please proceed.
The very partner do Mary say Muranga Panda, what's committee Zote Zanduni Hay, Councillor Phillips. Madam Speaker, I rise to table item 24, performance assessment report on the oversight activities of the Petition Standing Committee for the period April to June 2022, with an aim of requesting the Council to note the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mabuke. Councillor Mpefo. Councillor Mpefo. Thank you.
Greetings to the youngest, most educated, hardworking mayor the city has ever seen and worked with. Honorable Mayor Dr. Mpho Palazzi, Chief Whip of the DA Caucus, Councillor Tyrell Myers, Chairperson of the DA, Councillor Gert Niemand, media team in the gallery, residents of the City of Joburg, fellow councillors, I greet you all. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 24, Performance Assessment Report on the oversight activities of the Petitions Standing Committee for the period April to June 2022. Speaker, we can all agree, like my colleagues have mentioned, that under the leadership of Mayor Dr. Palazzi, residents started seeing tangible change. As a committee, we were working on improving communications and insisting on prompt responses from the departments and municipal entities. But it's unfortunate, Speaker, as we start closing the gaps, the enemies of progress come in to steal the city, to erase the good work, and to hide their shenanigans. Speaker, it's unacceptable that we still have petitions open from 2012, 2013, and even longer. Petitions were being closed without signatures of lead petitioners and or ward councillor, officials not doing their, just working in their offices and not doing the due diligence process. Perfect example, Speaker, I'll only just name two, but there's many that I can mention. Petition 2240413, out of 666 houses, only 409 have been completed. There were too many gaps in this report, not all houses completed, with some houses illegally occupied and other beneficiaries not found. There was not enough evidence that the Department of Housing did enough or even tried to locate the beneficiaries. I smell a rat. Another example was of a petition received in 2012. 10 years later, 10th of May 2022, Housing submitted a report on this petition asking for closure and deliberately misinforming the Section 79 Petition Standing Committee with this misleading report. In this report, the Department of Housing informed the committee that, 1, contractors are appointed to deal with day-to-day issues of maintenance. Secondly, that the appointed contractors are permanently on site to deal with the issues as they are reported. Of course, we found the opposite. Speaker, what we witnessed at Helen Joseph Hostel in Alexander was a human rights violation. Makes me wonder who the so-called contractors are, and if this is one of the reasons they want to take the city, they want to take back the city to continue to loot and run down the city. The greed, the rot, all too heavy and too deep. In conclusion, as the DA, we believe that multi-party government should be the ones to continue running the city so we can continue correcting the wrongs created by the previous administration. The people of Johannesburg are tired of their corruption.
Please sit down.
I thank you. Thank you, Speaker. I'm done.
Thank you. Councillor Mukwena.
Thank you, Speaker. We, as the EFF, we note the item. Thank you.
Councillor Sobi.
Good evening, Speaker, Honourable Mayor, Caucus Leader of Action SA, Councillor Funzi Ngobeni, fellow caucus members, fellow councillors, esteemed guests, all protocol observed. I rise on behalf of Action SA to speak on item 24, the third quarter report on the oversight activities of the Petitions Standing Committee for the period April to June 2022. For the period under review, the committee has had a few sittings, as well as an oversight visit to the Helen Joseph Women's Hostel in Alexandra. And Chairperson, I would like to focus in particular on this oversight visit. Unfortunately, the effectiveness of a Section 79 committee such as this is undermined when departments, instead of expediting petitions, pass the buck from pillar to post, and closure forms and reports are not signed, resulting in them having to be referred back and being delayed much longer than necessary, causing a backlog in petitions, and petitions remaining open for much longer than the intended period, some dating back as far as 10 years and more. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the constructive, non-partisan manner in which the meetings had been conducted under the former chairperson of Petitions, Advocate Kevin Reddy, where the focus was always redirected from politicking towards the oversight role of the committee and service delivery. And it is my sincere hope that as this committee, we may continue in this way and put service to our residents ahead of political agendas. However, we also have our strategic session, which hasn't taken place yet, so that we can get to work. Speaker, I'd like to focus on the Helen Joseph visit. As Action SA, we note with absolute horror the atrocious conditions of an establishment named after an icon of the liberation movement of our country. The hostel is in such a state of disrepair, with residents disputing claims by officials of work that was supposedly done there. For all the finger-pointing, Speaker, there is no physical evidence of work done. Residents of this hostel live in units that are inadequate for families, with rising damp, broken ablution facilities, and a generally unsafe environment. Speaker, this petition, as I indicated, was lodged over 10 years ago, and the extent of constant and consistent neglect for this women's hostel could have been mitigated had there been the political will to do so and a timeous response, rather than allowing it to languish and deteriorate to its current state. We thank the former Section 79 chairperson for refusing to close this petition before actually going on a physical oversight visit to satisfy ourselves as the committee, instead of pushing things on paper. The women of Helen Joseph's hostel, Speaker, deserve better. Our citizens deserve better. They deserve to be served by the people that they voted into this chamber. And it is extremely unfortunate that so much time gets taken up by hurling insults and playing petty politics, instead of ensuring that we do what we came here to do. Chairperson, as Action SA, we urge this council, regardless of who occupies office, to stop using residents of the townships as political pawns, and please restore the dignity of our citizens. The residents of the city of Johannesburg just want us to get on with service delivery. The decay and the slump that we witnessed at Helen Joseph has been allowed to fall into this state, and it could have been avoided by forward-thinking preemptive measures, and at the very least, the fulfillment of years and years of empty political promises made to the residents. Engaging communities is a positive step in the right direction towards giving citizens back a sense of ownership over their communities and areas of residence. But what would have been even better would be getting things done with clear implementation plans and timelines. The way forward, Speaker, requires a new way of doing things as we balance a staggering backlog in service delivery, primarily as a result of political games being played at the expense of our voters. Our residents deserve a government that is consultative, collaborative, and engages communities as stakeholders rather than deciding for them. May we never forget or take for granted why we are here, which is to serve the citizens of our beloved country and to create an enabling environment for our youth and future generations to take it forward. It is time to put the citizens of our country first. Action SA notes this report, and we hope to see the backlog currently with the Petitions Committee being cleared. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knott.
Thanks, Speaker. From the executive side, I think we were on a positive route. On the 7th of June, we had requested access and participation in the Petitions Committee, and we were granted that access, so we did start participating fully after this period. But I will make these comments because I think it is concerning. Firstly, there has been a tendency in the past to run service delivery through petitions. We cannot run normal, everyday service delivery issues through a petition mechanism via the legislature. It is not how we should be planning as a city, and I think it's something as the executive that we were working on. Secondly, 77% of these petitions were received in the previous term and never dealt with. I would have to question why the community means so little to the previous administration that they failed to deal with these petitions, thus overloading the current term with the amount of petitions that they've been dealing with. Having said that, the committee has made some way. I think the composition works very well. I think the councillors contribute, but I will say I do hope that Councillor Mabuke...
Please sit. Yes, Councillor. Try the one next to you. Can we get a roving mic for the councillor, please?
Thank you, Speaker. Just point of order. I'm not sure whether Councillor North was not part of the previous administration, because if I understand very well, in petitions, most of the petitions that we are dealing with are from Mashaba
Councillor,
administration.
the point of order.
Yes, that's the point of order. Just wait. And secondly,
you can't debate on the report. We need your point of order.
No, I'm just putting the point of order. Councillor North, we actually invited her to the petitions committee.
Thank you, Councillor.
After we have done the HLTT, and we requested that she calls all the...
Councillor North.
Thanks, Speaker. I'm happy to answer the query. I am happy to speak to it because it is in the report. And let me clarify, because the 77% I'm referring to is from the following periods. 76 were received in July, August, September, October, November, December 2021. 40 were received in April, May, and June 2021. It's in the report. If the Oversight Committee is lying, then I advise them to amend their report. When they're done, Speaker. Apparently,
Councillor,
they seem to have an issue with my name.
So I suggest you speak.
I would like to speak, Speaker.
Please go ahead and speak.
I would like to.
Thank you.
But unfortunately, when we don't like the truth, we resort to insults, and it's childish. Having said that, and perhaps in the same vein as the other side of the council, I do hope...
There's a hand behind you. Just please take a seat. Councillor De Rocha. They will give you a roving mic. Just hold on. We need to hear what you're saying. Councillor, do you have a point of order?
Thank you. Madam Speaker, how do you allow the people across the bench to tell the MMC to sit down?
The same way you tell the other side. So please sit down. Give the mic the... Thank you.
So you want to play it that way? We'll rock and roll then.
Please take that mic, sit down and listen. Thank you, Councillor North. Councillors, please settle down. Councillors, please settle down. Councillor North, you've got 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Having said that, I think the committee has made good grounds. As I said, I think the composition is done very well, and I think they work quite well. And between the executive and the legislature, petitions are being closed. In terms of this report, it mentions 34 that were closed during this particular period. However, I will state for the record, because this is a concern, that I hope the current chairperson who's just been elected sleeps less while he is the chairperson. Because while we were in committee meetings, the snoring was disturbing most of the committee members. And I'm being dead honest here, because I find it exceptionally concerning that somebody who's voted in as chairperson who cannot pay attention for the last 9 months in the committee he was serving on. Thank you.
Councillor Mabuke. Councillor Mabuke. Councillors, please sit down. Councillor Daroche, if you're going to throw stones, you must expect stones. And I'm not going to protect you. If you're going to throw stones, expect stones. So if you're going to insult other councillors when you're supposed to debate on reports, please expect that they will throw the stone back. And I can't protect that kind of behavior. Councillor Mabuke, please carry on.
Madam Speaker, I'm attempted to respond to what the MMC has said. However, I'm not like acknowledging all the inputs given by members of the committee. I therefore request on behalf of committee council to note the report.
Thank you, Chairperson. The recommendations, councillors. Yes, the report is for information. Is the report noted? Thank you. Next item.
Okay, we are concluding on the performance reports with item 25, which is the performance assessment report for the Office of the City Manager for the 2020-21 financial year for the period April to June 2022, read together with item 36, which is an oversight report of the Governance, Section 79 Committee on the fourth quarterly performance assessment report of the Office of the Chief Operations Officer, Office of the City Manager, Group Strategy, Policy Coordination and Relations, Group Governance, Citizen Relations and Urban Management, Group Communications and Marketing, Group Legal and Contracts, Group Risk and Assurance Services, and Group Forensic and Investigation Services for the period April to June 2022.
Councillor Ngwenya.
Good evening, Speaker, Leader of Caucus of the African National Congress, Councillor Dada Morero, Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, Chair of Chairs, Councillor Phillips, the outgoing Mayor and the outgoing Mayoral Committee, all councillors present. Speaker, I hereby rise on behalf of the Section 79 Governance Committee to table item 25 and 26 for the approval of council. Item 25 talks on the performance assessment report for the Office of the City Manager for the 2020-2021 financial year for the period April to June 2022. Item 36 talks to oversight report of the Governance Section 79 Committee on the fourth quarter performance assessment reports of the Office of the Chief Operations Officer, Office of the City Manager, Group Strategy, Policy Coordination and Relations, Group Governance, Communications and Marketing, Group Legal and Contract, Group Risk and Assurance Services, and Group Forensic and Investigation Services for the period of April to June 2022. Thank you.
Councillor Makuba.
Thank you, Speaker, the Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, Chief Whip of Council, Chair of Chairs, colleagues. I rise to speak to item 25 and 36. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to point out a few very important issues on the performance of the Office of the City Manager, specifically on issues of compliance. The emphasis will be on performance on those departments that directly report to the Office of the City Manager. And I will focus on the financial outcomes, the generic operational and strategic performance indicators, and the implementation of the unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure strategy. Though the report on financial outcomes states that the Office of the City Manager achieved 80% of its KPIs, well, it is extremely worrying that the lowest performing functions in the Office of the City Manager are the Office of the Chief Operations Officer at 66%. This is of concern to us because this office is responsible for revenue enhancement, and all operations of the city are in this office. They are then followed by Group Forensic Investigation Services at 77%. We note that there were challenges in this department, with the head of the department being removed. Lastly, Group Governance at 80%. We note and applaud all the other departments that did very well, that were at 85% and more. I also want to come to another concern on the report of the fourth quarter, a report that says that they have a challenge of being weak on probity. This is the process which assists in identifying flaws during the bidding processes. Probity looks at the non-compliance in the tendering process prior to adjudication and award of tenders. The reason for the lack of probity on tenders is said to be due to a lack of funding for legal experts to probe our tendering activities. The UIFW also, it's due to the moratorium on strategic positions. The Office of the Group Risk Assessment, GRAS, is not ICT enabled. The information from the core department and entities is always incomplete, and timelines for submissions are misaligned between departments and entities. Therefore, this makes it difficult for GRAS to function properly.
Time's up.
Thank you very much. We note the report.
Councillor Rand.
Thank you very much, Madam Presiding Officer, Honourable Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and distinguished guests. I rise today to speak on the fourth quarterly reports for the Office of the City Manager, which under our MMC's leadership, MMC Julie Sotheby and MMC Leah Knott, saw headway being made in the city to correct its disastrous course. The City Manager is appointed by Council to be the head of the municipal administration and is responsible and accountable for the formation and development of an economical, effective, efficient and accountable administration. But having an ongoing acting City Manager makes this very difficult to achieve. The mayoral priorities focus on A, a city that gets the basics right, and B, a city that is well run. And in order to do this, we must have a permanent city manager that is fit for purpose and accountable to serve the residents of Joburg. Even with the above challenge, it must be noted that during the quarter period, April to June 2022, a lot was achieved under our MMC's leadership and guidance. I will touch on a couple of these. Starting with GSPCR as the city's research think tank and knowledge gathering center, they hosted some key meetings and one-on-one engagements, which were key in improving the final IDPs, SDBIPs, and business plans for the department and entities for 2022-2023 financial year, ensuring good foundations to build on. Group governance. Key achievement was getting the cooperation of the executive and senior managers to fully comply with their service level agreements, as they now see the positive impact it has in enhancing service delivery. Crumb. For those of you that sit on governance with me, you'll know my feeling about Crumb, but I am very proud to say that under our MMC, we were reviewing the AFS operating model primarily in looking at how does this model guide whether Crumb should just be an evaluation and monitoring sector, or if they should actually have some teeth and be directly involved in the operational aspects of service delivery, as it should be. Group Comms and Marketing supported our executive mayor and MMCs in their first State of the City address, budget and IDP of this term, but most notably, the department supported City Power with the planning and execution of the first ever energy mix indaba held in May. This key indaba was essential in finding solutions to our ongoing national power crisis. Hopefully the city won't be stolen again and we can implement these solutions. Group Legal and Comms get a hard time from me as it's a bugbear of mine. Spending such huge amounts every quarter with very few results that reflect the amount of money that's been spent. But I do feel for Loshni, as well as the acting head, as well as Nicole, who endlessly attempt to stabilize this department. I hope the ongoing quarterlies will see a better return on investment for our residents' hard-earned money. GRAS. GRAS is there to ensure that they protect our city. This wasn't and isn't being done. However, under our leadership, we requested a full audit investigation of probity activities, as they were costing the city huge amounts due to using attorneys instead of a probity panel. GRAS was tasked with setting up a probity panel by the end of October, which, as you know, was during the period when our city was stolen. So we'll have to wait and see if this has been done by Councillor Dada Morera. GFIS. Among the many highlights achieved by GFIS in this quarter, the most notable one needs to be the SLA signed with City Power. Now that's something to get excited about. For the residents of Joburg, ensuring that the entity services to a standard that hopefully we can all be proud of.
Time up. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wiesler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Executive Mayor, the Chair of Chairs, Chief Whip of Council, all chairpersons of respective Section 79s, leaders of political parties, fellow councillors, managers, officials of council, distinguished guests and fellow citizens, I greet you all. I rise to speak on item 25 and 26 of the
Councillor
Governance...
Wiesler, please, there's a hand. Just hold on. Councillor Dami.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm requesting that the aircon must be switched off because the councillors are getting very cold. It's too cold now.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll ask them. Councillor Wiesler, please proceed.
I rise to speak on item 25 and 36 of the Governance Section 79. There are still very big concerns to the underspending by the Office of the City Manager on CAPEX budget and overspending on employees-related costs at the Office of the Chief Operating Officer. I would like to indicate that I'm greatly concerned with the poor performance by some of the municipal entities in resolving calls that are logged through the regional inspectors, which has a direct impact on service delivery, such as Pick It Up JRA, City Parks performance in the fourth quarter is also very bad. Madam Speaker, I would also like to register the concerns of the overspending on employee-related costs by GSPCR, Group Governance, CRUM, Group Communications and Marketing, Group Legal and Contracts, and GFIS. Also concerns of underspending on contract services by GSPCR, CRUM, and Group Communications and Marketing, with many KPIs not being achieved and many reports are not coming through on time. One highlight is that this committee completed its strategic planning session for the year, and I would like to thank the departments for their input for the year ahead. Successful oversights in the municipal courts were also done with this committee. As the outgoing chairperson, I would like to extend my gratitude to the departments and to my committee members for being there to get the job done for the citizens of Joburg. I'm now looking forward to robust debates in the committee going forward and congratulate Councillor Nontenja on her election as the new chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tabani.
Greetings, Speaker, fellow councillors. We, as the biggest political caucus in the city of Johannesburg, We note the failures of the DA in the fourth quarter under review, and we are not impressed by the performance of the Office of the City Manager and all other departments cited in the report. Speaker, the multi-party government failed to fill the vacancy of the City Manager since they assumed office as of the new political term. On the hindsight, Speaker, we all know that FedEx, under the stewardship of Madam Otta Helen Marie, is still fishing for a candidate in the Western Cape, as the one in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan is cited too black to be the deputy white candidate. We know for a fact that DA wanted to bring their party-aligned city manager who failed dismally at the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan, and this who was rejected by the Cry Baby Mayor's own mayoral committee. Speaker, the office of the city manager had more than 4 officials acting in the position for more than 10 months, which is even longer than the normal recruitment process. Speaker, DA has turned the city of Johannesburg into Hollywood. Majority of people in the senior positions are all actors. This is to buy time while Madam Otta Helene Marezile is still looking for the right candidate from Western Cape to fill the position. Everyone else must just act. To display the outright confusion by the ex-present mayor, soon to be gone, the council remunerated 3 acting secretaries to council all at once. Speaker, this has contributed to the demise and the deliberate attempt to delay the city's service delivery mandate towards addressing the challenges experienced by residents of the city, in particular in areas such as Orange Farm, Soweto, Diepsloot, Sunspruit, Ivory Park, and Alexandra, to name the few. We also note that the city manager's office and all other departments in this report have numerous vacancies which are already fully funded. To our surprise, even at the senior management level, these are strategic positions towards providing leadership and acceleration of service delivery in the city. This confirms our suspicions around the candidate from Western Cape, while suitable residents of the city remains unconsidered for the positions and they remain unemployed. Speaker, let us try to improve and do away with the precedents and culture of approving acting arrangements on positions that are supposed to be filled. We as the ANC know that this multi-party coalition has no appetite whatsoever to do away with Hollywood style, as acting is the order of the day in the city of Johannesburg currently. Speaker, the incompetence of the multi-party coalition government led by DA has contributed to the underspending on capital projects and operational budget spending. We are noting the report with reservations, as we are confident that the incoming administration will turn things around. Thanks very much, Speaker.
Councillor Hoon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and greetings to the Executive Mayor, Councillor Dr. Mpofulatse, and to the councillors in this House. I rise to speak on item 36. The purpose of the item is to provide Council with the governance portfolio's findings on the reports that's contained in the item. I would like to thank all of the departments that have submitted their reports for consideration by the committee. I would also like to thank the Governance Portfolio Committee Chairperson and the committee members for ensuring that the department's reports were presented, scrutinized, and interrogated by the committee members. While I could speak at length on individual line items in each of the reports, I think it far more useful to discuss the themes that emerged as the reports were evaluated. One of the key themes noted was that of underspending on contracted services and underspending on the capital budget expenditure. This underspending in the departments is a key driver of the underperformance that we are experiencing, and which has contributed to many KPIs in the various departments not being achieved. Another theme that was concerning was the large number of vacancies that exist in many of the departments. This lack of human capital has also contributed to many departments falling short of meeting their KPIs. It was further noted that the reports were quantitative assessments of the KPIs which were achieved, but provided very little information on the quality of the outcomes of the KPIs which were presented as achieved by the various departments and the entities that they manage. This makes it very difficult to accurately evaluate the different departments' performance and to establish reasons for some of the underperformance that we see on the KPIs. This shortcoming in reporting is even more worrying when considering the report that was presented by Risk Management and Compliance. The department's strategic risk analysis identified, number one, inaccurate performance information had been submitted by municipal entities, and two, that inadequate verification of the information by the departments proved to be a key driver of inaccuracies in the reports which had been received from some of the departments. This disturbing finding is clear to see in the quality of the report presented to the committee by CRUM. We see that CRUM has quantitatively achieved some of their KPIs on the monthly reports and on the calls logged through their regional inspectors. This has, however, not translated to quality service delivery or problem resolution in practice. The sad reality is that the entities who are responsible for the quality of the outcomes are visibly underperforming on their mandate while still meeting their KPIs on paper. There are lots of inspections and reporting successes, but difficulties in achieving the resolution of calls and quality service delivery by the responsible entities. It was therefore proposed that future reports include additional qualitative information on the expected outcomes of the KPIs and the extent to which the KPIs were met in relation to the scope of the work that was envisaged. Madam Speaker, I would like to highlight the importance of accurate information when formulating strategies to ensure that we have a functioning and well-governed city. If we are formulating and implementing our strategies based on false and misleading information, we are sure to fail in our mandate to deliver quality and reliable municipal services to our residents.
Seconds.
We are all aware of the systemic corruption in local government, and we should never be found wanting in exercising our role of oversight. We must never accept poor and inaccurate reporting. In closing, I would like to thank MMC Sotheby and MMC Knott for ensuring that your departments submitted their reports timeously. Thank you also for the hard work and long hours involved in streamlining the processes in order to return the city to its former glory. Your ongoing efforts and commitment in improving on the quality of the reports to the committee and
Councillor Mohapi.
Thank you, Speaker. Evening to EFF caucus and all protocol observed. I rise on item 25, Office of the City Manager, fourth quarter performance cover report for the period of April to June 2022. Speaker, we are concerned with the quality of reports submitted to this council by the Office of the City Manager. For Councillor,
Councillor, what is that noise?
MMC Souls.
Councillor Souls, the first. Are you making the sound? Councillor, proceed. It won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we are concerned with the quality of reports submitted to this council by the Office of the City Manager. For example, they submitted the report without executive summary of financial, which was supposed to make it easy for oversight to take place. This must be addressed. Although there are many cases which GFIS is dealing with, we are concerned with the failure to reach the targets. Moreover, the overspending by this unit is concerning, vested with the responsibility of ensuring that there is service delivery at the regional level. It is concerning that crime is performing poorly in many regions. What makes matters worse is that there is unity that does not take this council seriously, to an extent that it's reporting to an
Councillor
extent.
Mdina and Councillor Masuku. Please proceed,
Councillors.
Councillor.
To an extent that its reporting is inaccurate. Given the fact that the Office of the City Manager seems not to be taking its responsibility of crafting quality reports for this council to consider. We recommend that recommendation 3, 4, 5, and 6 be addressed before approval by council. The EFF notes the report. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sadabi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening, Executive Mayor, and to the residents of Johannesburg and all other protocol observed. As councillors, we are called upon to conduct oversight and to do that in an honest and transparent manner, which means that all comments from councillors are noted and we, this multi-party government, will consider and implement remedial action where necessary. The appointments of the City Manager and the Chief Operations Officer are well underway and quite imminent, and those will provide much needed stability to the entire city as a whole. Next year and future years' council calendar will have to align to the time constraints of some of the departments who provide input into these reports so that those reports are not late. Where possible, i.e. where there is a vacancy and the incumbent is not subject of a disciplinary investigation, those vacant positions are being advertised and are being filled. The only stuck acting positions are those where we are waiting for disciplinary processes to be finalized. All funded positions are encouraged to be filled. We purposefully removed the executive summary for 2 reasons. One, it was created after the mayoral committee had considered the detailed reports, and the mayoral committee never saw that executive summary before it was presented to the Section 79 committee. And 2, the financial reporting for the last 7 years that I have been on the government's committee, that financial reporting has been incorrect and therefore would not have assisted the councillors at all in any way. When the multi-party government came into government last year through a democratic, free and fair election, a clear indication of the will of the people, and not an illegitimate power grab, as Councillor Marrero clearly stated in his interview on ENCA yesterday, that the coalition of corruption is contesting for power, not to deliver services to residents, but power, and by extension, position, payment, and procurement opportunities. Luthuli House needs to be paid, and an electoral congress requires funding after all. Regardless of being a democratic republic, which means being elected to serve the residents who voted, to accept the responsibility.
Councillor Sadabi, when I address you, I expect you to stop, please. Councillor Sadabi, please refrain from referring to newspaper articles. You know the rules of the House. Thank you. Please proceed.
Being elected to serve the residents who voted, to accept the responsibility to govern, to honor the privilege of being elected to govern. There are no rulers and there should be no abuse of power in a democracy. But as I said, the 2021 election gave a clear indication of the will of the people of Johannesburg, and we knew what we were getting into. A broken city that urgently needed a golden repair. That is what this multi-party government is committed to, repairing our city. We are not there yet. We are still in the little by little phase mentioned earlier by Councillor Shea. We must improve so that we reach the suddenly things are finally working phase. After 28 years, I might add, our current 9 months of good and effective government is a small start on the 336 months of maladministration our city has endured. It will take a huge effort, a solid resolve to not grow weary of doing good for the benefit of our 6 million residents. Our beloved city will no longer be anyone's ATM, not on our watch.
Councillor Ngwenya.
Thank you very much once more, Speaker. Let me again greet the outgoing mayor on her last days on office. Speaker, as a committee, we hereby note all the comments and concerns added by councillors, and we hereby request council to approve the report. Thank you.
Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 25.3 and 36.13 to 36.14. Are the items agreed to? Thank you. We're going to do the next item and then take a 5 minutes body break. Councillor Dami.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I humbly request that we move to item number 48 and 49 and note the oversight report in the terms of references. It's my request, Speaker, because
Please
also
just repeat the request. We can't hear properly from here.
Speaker. Speaker, thank you very much to give me the opportunity. I'm requesting that we move to item number 48 and 49 and note the oversight report in terms of references. My reason is I'm looking at the time and it's late and it's dangerous for us to drive in the middle of the night. Last time when we did that, one of the councillors was involved in an accident. So the safety of councillors, please, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Dami. Councillors, please. There is a request that I'm putting to the House that we deal with item 48 and 49, and then we just note the oversight reports. Is this agreed to? Thank you. Then we will start with item 48. Councillor Sarabi.
Thank you, Speaker. If it would please the House as well, could we read item 48 and 49 together as, and deal with them together as a single item?
Is that agreed? Thank you.
Item 48 is the City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended in 31st May 2022. Also read together then with item 49, which is City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended 30th June 2022.
There are no speakers suggested. Councillors, the reports, both of them are for noting. Can we note item 48? Can we also note item 49? Thank you. Can we also read the oversight reports?
Item 37 is an oversight visit of the Section 79 Community Development Committee to Zoo Lake Swimming Pool, Sydenham Swimming Pool, East Bank Swimming Pool, East Bank Hall, Florida North Swimming Pool, Florida Lake Swimming Pool, Dobsonville Swimming Pool, and on the 18th of August 2022. And item 38 is an oversight visit report of the Economic Development Section 79 Committee to the Alexandra Automotive Park on the 8th of June 2022. Item 39 is an oversight report of the Transport Section 79 Committee on the oversight visit to Asphalt Plant Station at Boyson on the 15th of June 2022. And
Councillors, on item 37, the recommendations on pages 37.10, is the item agreed to? Item 38, the recommendations on pages 38.6 to 38.7, is the item agreed to? And item 39, the recommendations on pages 39.10, is the item agreed to? Thank you. Proceed.
Item 14 is an oversight report of the Transport Section 79 Committee on the oversight visit to Johannesburg International Transport Interchange on the 10th of May 2022. Item 41 is an oversight report on the Transport Section 79 Committee on oversight visit to the Metro Bus Mill Park Depot on the 10th of May 2022. Item 42 is an oversight visit report of the Section 79 Finance Committee to Rotherport Revenue Center on the 26th of August 2022.
Councillors, the recommendations for item 40 are on pages 40.9. Is the item agreed to? Thank you. Item 41, recommendations on pages 41.12. Item agreed to. Thank you. And item 42, the recommendations on pages 42.10, the item is agreed to. Thank you.
Item 43 is an oversight report on the Development Planning Section 79 Committee on the oversight visit to the Jabulani Phase 5, 6, and 7 and the Orange Farm Taxi Rank projects on the 24th of May 2022. Item 44 are terms of reference for Section 79 Committee. Oh, sorry, can I just? Item 44 are terms of reference for Section 79 Community Development Committee. And item 45 are terms of reference for Section 79 Public Safety Committee. And last one is item 46, which is terms of reference for Section 79 Oversight Committee on Gender, Youth, and People with Disabilities.
Councillors, item 43, recommendations on pages 43. Thank you. Item 44, recommendation is on pages 44.2. Thank you. Item 45, the recommendation is on page 45.2. Thank you, Councillors. Item 46, the recommendations on pages 46.2. Councillors, we have come to the end of this meeting. Thank you so much. Further announcements will be made. Have a safe trip home. Ku cancel, I cancel.